That is a good fish.
This will be the test for this rod right here, guys.
Oh.
Last year, the folks at Ugly Stik reached out to me about their Ugly Stik GX2 rods. I had mentioned Ugly Stik in a podcast I did about America's biggest fishing show that I visited in Orlando, ICAST. I noticed there was no presence of the traditional Ugly Stik catfish rods or the striper rods. Now, I started my catfishing career using Ugly Stik catfish rods. They were readily available and very affordable and did a good job with the fish we have in the areas that I'm fishing. As a matter of fact, if you look at any of my early videos on this channel, you'll see I was using those Ugly Stik rods. Now, I got the Ugly Stik GX2 rods late last year, put some reels on them, got them out on the boat, and began trolling and anchoring down for catfish. Now, these rods are 7 foot in length, and they come with the traditional trigger grip that has always been on the Ugly Stik catfish and striper rods. The rod is made from Ugly Tech Construction, which is a proprietary combination of graphite and fiberglass that creates a strong yet sensitive rod. Now, just to be clear, this is only one model of the GX2 rods that I got. They make them in a lot of different styles. These rods range from an ultralight in the spinning rod version all the way up to heavy action in both spinning and bait casting versions. And like I said, they come in both spinning and bait casting versions, and some of them are even two-piece rods in case you need something packable. The rods have an EVA foam grip, Ugly Tough one-piece stainless steel guides, the Ugly Stik clear tip, and they come with a 7-year warranty. As of the taping of this video, the price point is around $60. Now, when you go to their website, you'll see a lot of variables, a lot of different choices, a lot of different things, not only in rod length and action, but also even the grips. Just to be clear, I tested out the USGXCA 701M. It's a one-piece, 7-foot casting rod with the trigger grip. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you hear my opinions on this rod is my style of fishing. I'm not a bass fisherman that is casting all day. I fish from a boat, and my rods are in rod holders most of the time once my baits are in the water. So, what may be a negative to me could be a positive to someone else, and vice versa. So keep that in mind as you watch this video and what I think about the good points and the bad points. First, the things I like. If you've watched any of my videos, you hear me talk about liking 7-foot rods. In the catfish world, a lot of the popular catfish rods are 7 foot 6 inches. I like a 7-foot rod, probably because I started out using the Ugly Stik catfish rods back in the day, and since I'm in a boat, I don't need a lot of casting distance that is offered by a longer fishing rod. Now, just to be clear, a 7 foot 6 inch rod doesn't make it a bad rod. It doesn't make it a great rod. It is just something, one of the variables in fishing that some people like, some people dislike. So one of my little positives on this Ugly Stik is it's 7 foot. Second, and this is kind of amateurish, I like that little trigger grip that is on there. That's that little thing that sticks down on the bottom that your index finger hangs on to. Maybe again it's because I grew up fishing on the Ugly Stik catfish rods, but it gives you a little extra security when you really have to sling that rod casting a heavy bait. One of the things I think they did that was smart, that saved some money, is they put a less expensive reel seat on this rod. Now, in the catfish world, a lot of the reel seats that we have on the rods we use are aluminum. While these things are strong, sturdy, they look good, they also drive up the cost of a fishing rod. Now, the last big positive I have, and this is really going to apply to you guys that cast a rod and have it in your hand all day, this rod is extremely light. If you're holding a rod all day, it's a major difference in this rod and a lot of other ones out there. So I think the weight will be a big plus for you. Now for the negatives. One thing I wish it had on it was stronger guides. The stainless steel guides it has are nice and they're plentiful and they're well aligned. The problem is they're not the strongest guides out there. In my world, at least, the catfish world, we're kind of a rough and tumble crowd, and things get beat up, things get thrown around. We're not a crowd that is putting our rods into rod socks and putting them in a rod locker below deck. Our stuff takes a beating, and I did notice that sometimes I would look at one of the guides and it was slightly bent. The good news is I was able to bend them back and get them in alignment, but again, I don't think these rods are designed specifically for the catfish community. I've not seen the Ugly Stik catfish rods that they have out now. I don't know how the guides are built on them, but these, just to keep in mind, are not quite as sturdy as some of the stuff we see in the catfishing community. But if you're bass fishing, fishing for redfish, trout, or something like that, I don't think you're going to put your stuff through the punishment that we do, so it's probably not a deal breaker. Now, another little negative that's probably more specific to me and people in my group of fishermen is the length of the handle behind the reel seat. If you're casting all day, it's not that big of a deal, and quite honestly, you may like the length of this handle. It may be ideal for what you're doing. But for us that fight some bigger fish out there, having a slightly longer handle behind the reel seat puts the reel itself in a better position for when you're fighting a fish. Also, if you're casting and throwing long distance, the hand position when you're casting on a longer handle, it helps out with casting distance. Again, if you're throwing to fish all day long, bass, redfish, something like that, it's probably not a big deal, but in the catfish community, it could be something that you're not going to like as well. Hopefully this gives you a good overview of what I like and don't like about this rod. If you're wondering how big a fish it can handle, well, I think it can handle about anything you encounter. My personal best blue catfish on Lake Norman came on this rod while I was testing it out. I caught a 61-pound fish up there in over 60 feet of water, and I was not ever wanting more out of this rod. It did everything it needed to do to get the fish in. So I'll put you a link down to the website where you can check these rods out and see if it's a rod that works for you.